Why is everyone so impressed with the iD4 and iD14 Mark II audio interfaces? Are they really the best in their class? Let's find out. Hi folks, I'm Mike and I hope you're well. Recently, Audient upgraded their iD4 and iD14 interfaces to the Mark II versions, and my fellow YouTubers have been making some big claims about them, saying things like impressive, so good, nailed it, and best in class. Well, luckily, I've got my hands on both of them so I can make a judgment for myself. So let's get started by taking a look at the hardware. Both models have an updated look and are quite possibly the least plasticky interfaces I've ever had in my hands. Not only is the casing entirely metal, but so are the knobs. That and the gunmetal finish means I can't help but resort to the cliche, built like a tank. And if ever some interfaces deserved it, it's these. Both of the interfaces now use a USB-C connection. The extra power provided by this connection type arguably provides better overall audio quality and benefits such as louder headphone outputs. They also both use the same mic preamps as those used in the Audient ASP8024 HE Console, featuring ultra-low noise and distortion with, according to Audient, some analog warmth. Both interfaces also have a JFET instrument input at the front, which adds a little colour and distortion to the signal, making it perfect for electric guitars, basses and even synthesizers. On the iD4 this is the second input, but on the iD14 this overrides the rear mic input 1. Both models also have two headphone jacks at the front, and this is an upgrade for the iD14 from version 1. However, do note that both outputs receive the same signal when used simultaneously. These headphone outputs even worked well with my 250 ohm Beyerdynamic headphones, which are renowned for needing a little bit more juice to sound good. Both models also have a volume encoder which can be pressed to invoke other functions. On the iD4 this is assigned to the dim function, whereas on the iD14 it can have a number of functions assigned to it. There are some slight differences in the controls for these models. The iD14 has a headphone button which enables you to control headphone volume independently using the encoder, and the iD4 has a monitor mix control to blend inputs with your DAW, whereas the iD14 does this with software. More on that later. The iD4 has its switch for 48 volts of phantom power at the rear, whilst the iD14 has these on top. And by the way, these switches may look a little delicate, but they're actually very sturdy, and it would be hard to imagine accidentally switching them. But it's at the rear where we start to get a sense of the big differences in these two units. The iD4 has one combo input to attach either an XLR or 1/4-inch jack, and the two balanced outputs for monitors. With the iD14, the difference is massive. Of course, it has two combo inputs for its main two input channels, but this can be expanded to 10 by connecting a compatible preamp via its ADAT connection. This is pretty unusual, if not unique, for interfaces in this price range, and it's worth taking seriously if you intend to expand your recording capabilities in the future. In terms of outputs, there's some more good news, as we find 4 outputs at the rear, giving us options such as extra monitors, effects loops, or even guitar reamping. This is a big step up from the previous generation of iD14. However, it's true that for both models there's been significant improvements under the hood, so to speak. Check out the link in the description for my comparison to the previous generation. When looking at the software mixer for the iD4, it reflects the simplicity of the device itself, and it's arguably easier just to use the hardware controls, perhaps with the exception of loopback, a feature which allows you to route your operating system sounds through the interface. But it's with the iD14 Mark II's mixer that we see a lot more options to reflect its capabilities. The mixer here not only allows you to blend the various inputs, but it also gives you additional DAW outputs to create alternative cue mixes. These cue mixes can be routed to either alternative outputs or headphones, allowing you to give a unique mix for your artist. Talking about artists, the iD14 allows you to communicate with them via the talkback feature, which allows you to use any mic on your system to communicate, even things like webcam mics. Another notable feature for the iD14 is the ability to assign a variety of functions to the main encoder, including scroll control, which works anywhere your mouse scroll wheel does in your DAW. This could be for things like fader controls or pan controls. All in all, the mixer software with the iD14 Mark II feels much more like an important part of the product, which opens up some cool features and flexibility. And finally, both models also come with a host of third-party software including DAWs, instruments, effects and courses. Check the link in the description for details. So given the claims about the quality of the mic preamps for these interfaces, I wanted to test it out with this mic here. This is the Shure SM7B. Now, if you're not aware, the Shure SM7B is a classic microphone used in top studios around the world for vocals and instruments, but it's also gained a lot of popularity amongst podcasters and YouTubers alike. Now, the thing that's well known about this microphone is it needs a lot of gain to be used effectively. The problem is with most interfaces, when you turn the gain up really high, you introduce a lot of noise and it can become unusable. So I've got this plugged into the iD14 Mark II and I've actually got the gain turned up full. So let's have a moment of awkward silence so you can listen and tell me what you hear. So what is all the fuss about? Well, here's my take on it. This has not been a lazy update. Apart from the cosmetic changes and the extra outputs to the iD14 Mark II, if we look at a spec comparison, we can see they've put a lot of work in terms of trying to improve the audio performance. Now, this is especially noticeable with the mic preamps that can be turned up very loud indeed with very little noise. And let me tell you, that's extremely unusual for USB powered devices in this class. Now, with the iD14 Mark II, of course, we get that ADAT connection. This is probably going to give you more expandability than most of us are ever going to need in terms of inputs. I actually think it's with the extra outputs on this model where we see the most immediate advantage. We can output to other monitors, we could use it for effects loops, we could output to another headphone amp, for example, to get different mixes for headphones, or we could use it, as I mentioned earlier, for things like guitar reamping. Now, I think with the iD4, you really do get a great interface. And if that's the kind of thing you're looking for, then I don't think there's much choice that will sway you away from this one. But with the iD14 Mark II, I think this is an excellent interface. It may well deserve that title, best in its class. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and while you're there, check out prices in the description. While you're looking at the description, check out my link to patreon.com, where for as little as $1 per month you can help me help you by making more videos like this. And I'll see you in the next video.